Once upon a time, in ancient India, there lived a young prince named Siddhartha. He was raised in a palace filled with lavish luxuries, shielded from the harsh realities of the outside world. Despite having everything one could desire, Siddhartha often felt a deep emptiness within him. He yearned to discover the true purpose of life and find a way to overcome suffering, not just for himself but for all living beings. One fateful day, Siddhartha decided to escape his opulent palace and secretly explore the world outside. As he roamed the kingdom, he encountered three distinct sights that would forever change his life and mark the beginning of his spiritual journey. The first sight he witnessed was that of an old man. Siddhartha was perplexed by the frailty and senility displayed by this elderly individual. He realized that aging was inevitable, and no one could escape the relentless march of time. The second sight was that of a sick person, wailing in pain and suffering. Siddhartha was deeply moved by the misery and agony he witnessed. He understood that sickness was an intrinsic part of life, and no one could escape the clutches of physical ailments. The third sight was the most profound of all. Siddhartha came across a funeral procession where mourners were grieving the loss of a loved one. Death stared him in the face, and he realized that mortality was an unavoidable truth of existence. These encounters left Siddhartha in a state of deep contemplation. He realized that life was impermanent, filled with suffering, and ultimately led to death. He understood that the wealth and comfort he had been surrounded by were merely temporary distractions that didn't provide lasting fulfillment. Driven by an intense desire to unravel the mysteries of life, Siddhartha decided to renounce his princely life and embark on a spiritual quest. He left his kingdom, his wife, and his child behind, seeking answers from various spiritual teachers. However, none of these teachings provided him with the enlightenment he sought. Siddhartha then resorted to extreme asceticism, subjecting his body to severe self-mortification and deprivation. He believed that by punishing his body, he could transcend the physical realm and achieve spiritual enlightenment. Days turned into months, and months into years, but Siddhartha only found himself weakened and on the verge of death. Realizing the futility of extreme asceticism, Siddhartha abandoned this path and resolved to find an alternative. He sat under a Bodhi tree, dedicating himself to deep meditation until he attained enlightenment. For days and nights, he meditated, facing a series of temptations from the embodiment of evil and distractions that tested his resolve. Finally, on the full moon night of Vesak, Siddhartha, now called Gautama Buddha, penetrated the veils of ignorance and delusion. He gained profound insights into the nature of existence, the causes of suffering, and the path towards liberation. The Buddha's teachings, known as the Dharma, revolved around the Four Noble Truths and the Eightfold Path. He taught that suffering is an inherent part of life, caused by desire and attachment. By overcoming cravings and attachments, one could attain liberation from suffering. The Buddha spent the rest of his life sharing his teachings, guiding countless individuals towards enlightenment and self-realization. He emphasized the importance of mindfulness, compassion, and living in harmony with the world. His teachings, filled with wisdom and compassion, continue to inspire millions to this day. So, dear reader, the true purpose of life, according to the Buddha's teachings, is to break free from the cycle of suffering and attain enlightenment. It is through understanding the impermanence of existence, overcoming desires, and practicing compassion towards oneself and others that true peace and fulfillment can be achieved.